Hello, my name is Ann Chiragino, and today I'm going to walk you through the library purchases that I would make for my school library. I'm not currently in a library, so I viewed making these purchases for the library that my children, for the school that my children go to. They go through to a K through 8 school that's very small, and the library itself is quite small. So I tried to look at what were the needs of this particular school library. The first category I looked at was books. So I'm going to give you the websites I looked at, and then on the following slide, I'll show you what I purchased in those categories. So for the books, the vendors that I looked at were Scholastic. I mean, classic, right? Like fits so many students, well known, publishes a wide variety of books. Excellent, great. Um, Follett Tidal Wave, I thought was good. It has a lot of options. It's easy to search. You can break it down by so many things. I found that to be really helpful in terms of searching for books that would be pertinent to this library. And then the Rosen or Rosin, I think it's Rosen Publishing Group, has more unique titles than the other two, which would add some diversity to the collection. In particular, I was really brought in by the nonfiction books that they had. So I think that's something that this particular library would benefit from. So, what would I buy? In the top left there, you can see some SEL, some social emotional learning and nonfiction books from Rosen Publishing for 2.99. So, of a nice sort of collection, could be shared among different classrooms. So, could be like a kit that moves from classroom to classroom if they need to. And then at the bottom there, those three different collections, I did those based off of different grade levels. So I only did one version of the Mo Willems collection. That was simply because I felt like a lot of the SEL nonfiction books from up above would be more for those K2 grades. And so I was wanting to kind of spread the resources out as much as I could. So I did get them a fun author study for Mo Willems, but I didn't do a class set per se. When you look at the second one, the Katie DiCamillo author study, and then the last one, the Mike Lupica author study, I bought 10 copies of it. So then, of each of those. So then that way, if teachers wanted to do book groups or they just wanted to use one of those for a book group or a lit circle type of situation, then they would have that opportunity. So I kind of spread the funding all around that way. So that's what we had for books. For furniture, this library needs so much furniture. It's got, like, just regular straight back chairs and, like, rectangular tables, and that's kind of it. So, I was really excited about furniture, but then I saw the cost, which we'll get to in a second. My 3 vendors for furniture were Demco, has a ton of options, lots of styles and arrangements, very fun colors, really eye-catching, happy looking. This particular library has, like, 2 windows, and it's very dark. And so I was like, "Oh, these fun, bright colors will brighten up the space." Also School Outfitters, which I thought was good for some of those, like, pieces that don't necessarily need to look pretty, like book carts where it's like, "Oh, if you get a nice one, then great," but it's not a necessary thing, like chairs, I feel like could be happier, but maybe library carts don't need to be. So, I chose them. And then the library store, had some more options, not quite as pretty as Demco, maybe not quite as, regular as School Outfitters, so it was sort of in the middle. Um, the thing about the furniture though is that it was just so darn expensive. So I looked at one couch. So you'll see in that picture that it has the sofa and then the ottoman, just the sofa. So like just the light blue part, $2,366 basically. Like, oh boy. So that was a large chunk of change. But I was thinking this is a K through 8 school and they don't have really any sort of like fun seating, especially for like middle schoolers to come and sit. So I really wanted to get that for them. Then also the 4 shelf end of range multimedia display, just because it was, again, like, it's sort of fun looking and something that's sort of eye catching and different, and because it is such a small library, they don't have a lot of space to come out with stuff, but they could go up a little bit, so since it's not very wide but goes high, I thought that that would be a good choice, and it was a little bit more than I wanted to do, but thought that it would be fun and helpful for everybody. So features of the month could go there, books of the month kind of a thing. Staff picks could go there, staff recommendations or kid recommendations. It could kind of get cycled through. I think it would be good for the whole school. Then makerspace materials. So the three vendors, Mackin, so much cool stuff, so many name brand things, Lego and Connects. It's very techy. It's got robots. It's got all the things. EAI education was more in like the consumable products, so like pipe cleaners, and construction paper, and tape, and all the things like that. And then Hand to Mind, which has a lot of resources. It breaks down by product type and grade level pretty easily. They had a lot of like kits and stuff like that, which I thought were fun. They did have, so what I chose for them was a makerspace cart materials. It's just the materials and not the cart itself because the cart was just way too expensive. But I was like, okay, I can get the materials. This is a good starter kit for materials. So if teachers are like, I don't even know what we could use for this, if they're thinking about integrating it into a lesson, or even for myself, I'm just like, I just want something to start with. Like, I don't want to start from nothing. I figured this would be a good range of start things. And then once I figure out what's popular with my students and with my teachers, then I could kind of tweak it and get things that are more specific to what the kids want. But this might be a good place to start. So I ended up getting not the cart, just the materials for the cart. And then I figured some other sort of storage solution out on my own. For technology tools, the 3 that I had were Bretford. They specialize in charging stations, charging carts and stations for both iOS and Chromebooks, and so you'll see that I actually use them, I chose them. And then Epic, so many ebooks and books, they would really benefit, I think, from having that. And then Sora, is an app from Overdrive where you can custom buy, ebooks, and so you're not just sort of with Epic, it's just sort of you go and there's just tons of books and there's all the things. Sora, you can kind of more mindfully curate it. And I think that's something that this school is looking for, particularly in the middle grade and junior high levels, to be sort of thoughtful about which ebooks they're purchasing and not necessarily just let's have all of them, but maybe having like class sets or something like that. So I think that this would be a way to do that. So I did choose the cart. I like that it had wheels. A lot of the classrooms have their own charging things, but there's no backups, and there's none that can just be. There's not a way to take devices to different classrooms very easily. So I thought that this would be good. It is again like super expensive, but I thought for something that's going to benefit like the whole school, maybe worth it. Supplies and decor were really fun to look at. I chose a site called The Simple Stencil. They had a lot of really fun, like wall decals and decals that could be put on different things. Lakeshore, which I think most people know, has a lot of really fun bulletin boards and decorating supplies, other educational supplies. And then the last one I chose was Vernon Library Supplies, which carries a lot of library specific supplies, such as barcodes and scanners, the tags that say when the due date is, all that sort of stuff. So I chose to spend my money on 2 decals, which I just thought were really cool. I liked the "So many books, so little time." I love this quote, attributed to Christopher Robin. So I liked both of those. I thought that we'd add a little bit of, fun to the space. There's not a lot of bulletin boardy space around, but there is some sort of higher walls that could use something. So I thought maybe a decal would be good because it's maybe better than hanging something that would require like nails and things. And then there is no library book return. The librarian just takes the books and just sort of stacks them, and that sort of drives me bananas. So I went by a return cart because it also could be put outside the library. So when the students come in the morning, they all just go right to their classrooms. And so they could come and they could return the books there, or it could be in the office so they could get returned there on the way in or out. And then that way, since it has wheels, it could be wheeled over to the library. So I thought that would be an effective thing for everyone. Here's the final price list. It all ended up coming down to $9,875.66, and I live in Oregon, and we have no sales tax, so I figure this is pretty accurate, and then maybe I have, like, an extra, $125-ish, that I can use for shipping or whatever I need to use to kind of cover that last basis there, so, there you go. I hope you enjoyed seeing the supplies that I would choose. Thank you very much for your time.